Okay, so we're live. Can we call the meeting to order? And we'll do a roll call.
Just one moment. I just want to make sure that this gets on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, you are all set.
Okay, roll call.
Paul St. Armand,
Maureen Buffy.
Aaron Brewster.
Anna Sumpico.
And Norma Smith. So we have a quorum. Did you review the minutes from February 24th? Did everybody review that?
Yes.
yes.
I have a question. Maureen, how do you spell your last name?
With an I.
That's what I thought. So a correction in spelling Maureen's name, B-U-F-F-I instead of Y. I mean, it's minor, it doesn't change the meeting, but your name could be spelled correctly. Okay. So is everybody, do you want to vote all in favor to accept the minutes as are, except for the change of spelling in Maureen's name?
Yes.
All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Paul? Are you
Fine.
there? Paul? Aye, okay.
Okay.
Maureen, you're in favor?
Yep.
Okay, so all in favor is aye, and so
Aye.
that spelling will be changed. Today we have, a couple months back, we had Larry Minier, who was talking about the mapping system, and he has an update of what they've done since we've met. So I'll leave it up to Larry now to give his newest presentation.
Okay, let me share my screen. See if this works. Share sound. Okay, as I think I mentioned last time, we were fortunate to have Lynn Carlson be appointed to the Conservation Commission, and very complimentary to my skills. I'm more of a desktop GIS custom maps kind of guy, database data development kind of guy, but Lynn is a spectacular developer of online mapping systems. So between the two of us, she's been able to take all the historical data I've been doing and put it online. So we're going to give you a quick run through of what's online, and we'll give you I'll send to John an email that will have the link in it, so you can play with it yourself in the future. And the whole point of this is a demonstration of a demonstration or a prototype. This is not a final production system. This is version 1 of something we hope eventually could migrate to the town and be part of an even larger what we'd like to call the Coventry Geo Hub or gallery, which is a set of different subjects. You could go on to the hub and see layers that are useful for historical and land trust commissions, or see demographics or zoning or political districts and so forth and so on. So this eventually could be one part of a much larger hub, but as you know, with the financial condition the town is in and so forth, we have no idea whether this will ever happen. But we thought we'd like to at least give you something you could use for your own work, even if this is as far as we're able to go. And right now, this is running on Lynn's own computer. And all of the pictures and PDFs and so forth are stored in an Amazon Web Services, what's called an S3 or simple storage system for a low-cost storage, online storage device. So that's how we've been able to pull this off. And so when you run the link, you see this splash screen. which explains what it's all about, and that it's oriented towards the commissions right now. And here's our my email address and Lynn's. So now that puts you into. I need to get rid of the. There we go. That puts you into this map. And you see on the left a whole list of layers, and over on the right is will be an explanation of what some of the layers mean. There's some instructions down here in the lower right, and then of course the map in the middle, and then some icons up here for zooming in and out, searching for an address, turning on aerial maps, and so forth. So let's just I just want to give you an idea. We'll just go through the layers. It's useful to look at them at two levels. One, we can look at them town-wide, the larger kinds of things, and then we'll zoom in and look at some more details. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. The historical stuff is up here near the top, so I want to start at the bottom here and show you we do have parcel boundaries in here. They're so detailed that it's helpful to zoom in a little bit, but you can see parcel boundaries. We have Lynn has listed the parcels, has a layer for parcels that the land trust is working with. Those are the land trust parcels. These are parcels owned by the town. Then from Regis, everybody knows what Regis is, right? The Rhode Island GIS. Unfortunately, as Lynn tells me, funding for Regis for doing a lot of the statewide data and so forth used to be provided by planning and supposed to migrate to DOT, and the new DOT director pulled all the funding for it. So basically, Regis is kind of, as far as maintaining our statewide data, is kind of dead, and they're surviving basically on contract work for Park Service and other people. So here is from Regis. Here's the local conservation areas. And by the way, you can click on one of these and see what it is. This is the Maxwell Maze property and other information about it with Audubon, the owner's Audubon, and so forth. So you can click around any features on the map. You can click on. So here's the state conservation areas. Like here's a big river down here, and this must be Carbuncle, or Carbuncle Pond, and so forth. So print is kind of small on my laptop here. I can barely read it. National, okay, this is from Regis. These are the national wetlands inventory from Fish and Wildlife Service. And remember, of course, any combination of these can be turned on at the same time. I'm just showing them to you individually so you get an idea what they look like. These are natural heritage areas. We don't know a lot about these and not a lot about the history and so forth, but they are in Regis. This potential archaeological sites I copied out of the 2001 Coventry comp plan. And we know even less about where these came from, who developed them, and so forth. They're just squares to indicate a general area to where possible archaeological sites are or what. So Jeff Emerdy at State Commission wasn't even sure we ought to be using these. We don't know anything about them. So this is something that needs to be looked into. Now here are let's see, here are the national, we have 4 National Register districts, in the town, Rice City, Hopkins Hollow, South Main, and Anthony Village. So those are the 4 that had been designated nationally. And Jeff tells me that everything that has an NR designation, National Register designation in Rhode Island's got to get the cat off the desk. Okay. It tells me that they, as far as they're concerned, everything that's NR is also state register or SR. I'm just, we can make that assumption that if we see it as national, it's also considered SR. And then if you remember, we talked about the 1978 survey that the State Commission did. And these are other non-national register districts: Green, Summit, Coventry Center, Hill Farm Road, and Quidnick, and Harris, and Arkwright. So those are unofficial or non-national register districts right now that your commission may want to consider possibly designating as local historic districts or what. I don't. According to Jeff, he's not sure any town in Rhode Island has any local historic districts or properties. So I know they do in Massachusetts. I'll show you that in a minute. But that's the question is, I took a cue from Massachusetts and called these inventoried districts rather than referring to the survey, because you may do some more, add some more properties or districts to this list. And so we can call those inventory because they're not designated or anything. They're just, that they have been described and added to a list for now. And so those are the area or polygon or district kinds of layers. And now let's look at some, let's see here, checking. Yeah, let's go zoom in and look at some details. So this search icon right up here, we can go to an address. Let's go to 1 South Main Street. Oops, sorry, wrong keyboard. 1 Main Street, Coventry. See, it automatically pops up. So you can look for just a street, you can look for a specific address and so forth. So we're going to zoom to 1 Main Street. You'll recognize that as the old Washington Company woolen mill. More recently, the Garland Pen Company, may it rest in peace. It was real sad to see that go. I went to the auction and bought a few things there. So here we are in the South Main Street district, and let's turn on the district boundary. So there's the district boundary, and I'm going to start backwards here. I took the using the parcel database. There is a field called year built in it. So I said, all right, let's make a layer of all year built before 1800. So we see here's some additional properties that are not, and by the way, I excluded all properties that are NR or in the inventory layer. So these are additional properties you may want eventually to designate or do something with. And like these right here, I know are very derelict. It's going to be sad to see those go. So, and by the way, this is just my arbitrary choice of what might be useful. We can we can pull these out a lot of different ways, whatever. Remember, the whole purpose of this is to get your feedback on what you need. I'm just showing you what we guessed you might need, but we want to know much more detail how you want to refine this. So then I also pulled out properties with year belt 1800 to 1900. I just turned those on and we see these red ones, red squares, are some additional properties that are over 120 years old or more.
You don't have mine on there, Larry.
Oh,
Mine was built in 1858.
well, we'll have to take that up with the town assessor.
I take
Unfortunately,
offense.
the parcel database is, let us say, not perfect. There's an awful lot of year built in the parcel database that are empty. So I don't know if the town will ever get those corrected or not, but we can certainly try. And now let's add the 1978 surveyed properties, again excluding there was about 40 NR properties in these 1978. So I've excluded those from that list. So here are the survey properties. Let's zoom out a little bit. And then finally, let's add the National Register properties, which are, of course, in the district, except for the school on Caddy Street, which for some reason is outside of the district. So let's click on the woolen mill building right here, and it's actually labeled as Stillwater Company. That's an alternative name for it. Later on, it was called the Stillwater Mill, and you see it's an NR district property. So there are in every NR there are contributing and non-contributing properties. I've included all the properties, contributing or non-contributing, and because all of those are described in the form. All the National Register nomination forms are available on the State Commission website as downloads. I've downloaded all of those and then copied all the descriptions, like this description here, from the NR form into here. Excuse me, so you can see them individually, as well as if you want to see the NR form itself, right here, see it says National Register Nomination Form. So if we click on that, here's the form itself. This will save you from having to go download it because it's all right here. And these things can be gigantic, but here's all the descriptions. And fortunately, these have been converted in such a way that it's possible to grab the text out of them. So that made it easy. And also, we scroll down to the bottom here, we have a picture. I think we talked last time about hoping to be able to attach to each property all kinds of pictures, PDFs, media, videos, you name it. Anything that can be digital, we could reference when you click on this property. So if you all want to go out and get some much better pictures and who knows what, all we do is load them and put a reference into the table for this property, and then it's available for anybody to see. So that's kind of exciting. And then, of course, all the attributes here, we see this was a mill built in 1833, and other attributes. And let's see here. Oh, so I wanted to mention the before 1800, there are 42 in the assessor file that are have a year built before 1800. There are 396 that have a year built of 1800 to 1899, And then from the inventory, excluding the NRs, there's 148. And they're NR properties. The NR properties the vast majority of them are in the NR districts like these here as contributing or non-contributing properties. And then there are about 15 what are called what's the word? Independent or properties that are standalone. Well, for example, the Reed Schoolhouse is a separate, it's not in a district. So I discovered, like I said, this is version 1. I just discovered that I don't have the NR file. I have the NR forms for the individual, that's the word, individual properties are called. I got the PDFs and then forgot to reference them in here. So right now, if you go to Reed Schoolhouse, you can't find the NR file form. So I got to fix that. So there'll be, I'm sure you'll find mistakes here and there, and our whole goal is to improve this. So, so anyway, so of the inventoried and NR properties, there's about 400, and then that leaves another 520 of these other ones that are potential for designated as historical properties, either as local historical, or maybe they should be recommended in the survey. There were a number of recommendations for properties that should be NR that just haven't made it yet. So that's about, so all in all, almost 1,000 properties in Coventry out of about 14,000 and something parcels. So we have a lot of history, as you well know. Now, we can also, if I click on this button right here, we can turn on the aerial. Basically it's, I think this is Google Maps. And, you know, if you having trouble seeing it, we can turn that off and so forth. So it's possible to use that as well. And also, I don't know if, I think I mentioned this last time, Lynn is very good at using the LiDAR data. That's the elevation, it's the radar radar that picks up tree canopy and the ground and so forth. And so this is an example. I think I sent this to you after last meeting. This is the property just northwest of Reed School that Land Trust is about to put trails on. So I had her do this just to give them an example of how this could be helpful in designing trails. And in fact, Lynn, got to move this out of the way. Lynn actually showed, she was contracted a while back to develop a trail map for the Richardson Nature Preserve in Attleboro. And she just was showed this to Land Trust. Land Trust particularly interested, of course, in this because they do trails. So as I said, I'm kind of using MACRIS, Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System, as a kind of a model. The irony here is after Bob Bendick hired me in '85 to do the feasibility study that resulted in creation of RIGIS, the Massachusetts Hazardous Waste Facility Site Safety Council hired me to do the same feasibility study in Massachusetts to start the equivalent of RIGIS called MassGIS. And following that, Mass Historical hired me to automate all their paper records of all their historic properties and get all the data into the computer and get it mapped and so forth. And so I helped get Massachusetts started in creating a really fabulous historical inventory. Meanwhile, my own state is back in the dark ages, basically, with respect to this. So this is an example of the Macris mapping, and you can see their districts. There's NR districts and inventory districts, and let's see here. I want to turn on my here we go, the legend. So here's all the various categories they have. NR, and they've got a lot more than we do. I haven't seen anything about preservation restrictions here. I guess we must have some, but they certainly haven't been mapped so far. But they do have towns with local historic districts and local properties. And I asked Jeff Ermity if he knows of any town in Rhode Island that do, and he couldn't think of any. So Coventry may be the, if you want to get involved in that, Coventry may be the first to do it. In fact, I've looked at Providence. The GIS is for Providence, Pawtucket, Cranston, South Kingstown, and Newport. Not a one of those have mapped historic properties. And of course, the state hasn't either. I guess state historic preservation is as underfunded as everybody else, but it's real sad. So I had to get Jeff Ermity to give me an extract of they do have a database of all 22,000 properties in the state. And I had to ask Jeff to give me an extract of the ones for Coventry, and I had to geocode them and just to get the locations. Fortunately, it had the addresses, and for most of them, then I had to find the rest of them. So that's sad that we don't have the equivalent of Macris in Rhode Island, but that's the stage we're in. So anyway, Coventry has an opportunity here, I think, to be a leader in historic property management and mapping. So with that, and then I'll send John an email with a link to this system so you can play with it yourself and think about it. Now, with Land Trust is super interested in this, and we, in a demo like this, it's kind of hard to get much detailed feedback and so forth. So Land Trust has agreed to have a working meeting in May to go through this in detail and make recommendations on what additional attribute data and layers and so forth should be added to it to be very useful for their business. So you may want to I need to know how you want to proceed. If you just want to play with it and send us your suggestions, or maybe however you want to do it. But we're anxiously awaiting your feedback. That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Maybe we should have a meeting when we just look at this,
Thank you.
You could.
in the future. Each of us look at it ourselves, and then maybe have one meeting just specific to this. At some
Even if
point.
it's maybe 30 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, in more
but
detail.
if you take time to look at it on your own, then you can formulate, get some
exactly.
ideas.
Yeah,
I want to say,
Yeah. yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay.
We'll get back to you on that. I'm not sure exactly when that would happen, but within the next couple of months, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Well,
you.
I got to bail now, so I'll
Okay.
take
Thank
off.
you very
and
much.
Thank you for
Larry.
your attention.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. It's a lot to think about with this, and like I said, if we each take our time over the next month looking at it, we can decide if we want to have a special meeting specific to this, what he just spoke of. a lot to take in.
Well, I
Okay.
think all of us would benefit if we could do it in a normal meeting in person where we had the big screen, and not because of
In
that,
person, yes, in
but
person.
where we
yeah,
had the big screen
Yes,
TV and him
Yes.
there to,
Yes,
navigate it,
we can
to
see
show
it,
us
yeah,
it, where you can really,
right.
benefit from it, but that's
Yep.
got a lot of
No,
data
that-
on it. It's hard
Yeah.
to look at on our laptop, so,
It's too small
yep.
to really
But
look
anyway,
at, but,
they
anyway.
are doing a terrific job with that stuff.
oh, they
but-
are, and there's a couple of things I want to ask him about in between now and in the next meeting anyway, but,
Yep.
okay. We're gonna move on to the next thing on the agenda, the budget for next year. I received an email from Jen Ludwig. I sent it to John. John, did you send it to all of them? Is he there?
Yep, I'm back.
I had asked you to send this to each of them.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. I misunderstood in the email chain. You had asked me to send something and I didn't see an attachment. I didn't realize that you
Okay.
were referring to the email, so it didn't end up getting out to the members.
Okay, all right, well, all right. I got this from Jen Ludwig, and I'll just read it to everybody now, seeing as you didn't get it. Manager Marchant and I reviewed the below requests because I had sent them information. They wanted a budget for Reed School and all that thing. And as the Reed Schoolhouse is a town-owned property, the electricity should be covered in our town utilities budget. Mr. Marchant is working with National Grid to provide the barcode information to have it turned on. Hopefully this will be this upcoming week, but we will alert you on the ETA once we hear back from them. We will also shortly review the water request because the Historical Society was also paying an annual water bill, I think like $55 because the water hasn't been turned on. Now, since then, I had another email before I finish this saying that the electricity was scheduled to be on March 14th. Well, I drove by Monday night, and if it's on, the spotlights were not on. I thought they were timed, so that needs to be looked at as to why they're not on. They don't go on. They used to go on automatically. I don't know why they're not, unless there still isn't electricity, but we'll have to look into that. Okay, I'll continue with the email. Our town's Historical Preservation Commission has a current budget, meaning June 30th, 22, of approximately $1,000 for meeting minute write-ups and $4,000 for expenditures relating to items you deem appropriate. Please take the following steps. Review your prioritization list of items that will preserve town buildings and histories. Work with a vendor to get a quote and vote on any expenditures in your monthly meeting. After an affirmative majority vote, send the details in a purchase order with vendor information and amount via email to Manager Marchant for expenditure approval. Manager Marchant will forward to the town council for review only if the request is questionable, i.e. not on historical item, over budget, etc. Manager Marchant can work with finance to get a check for the expenditure. All expenditures through 30 June 22 must total at the most $4,000. The Historic Preservation Committee will be responsible for working with the vendor to complete the work. You do not need 3 estimates, nor to go out to bid on the work if the amount is $10,000 per our town charge. I think it means 10,000. I don't know. She doesn't say more or less, but it must be less. Per our town charter and within your $4,000 budget. Please also submit an updated budget request to the town council and Manager Marchant via email for fiscal year 22-23 at the earliest, so we can get this into the budget cycle. The town council will review and confirm next year's budget through our upcoming meetings. And she says, please use me as the point person for historical preservation requests to the council in the future. So our contact now is Jen Ludwig. So we can, I'm assuming by this, we can get a price from somebody for the windows at the school. I'd like to have the World War II memorial checked for electricity. Maybe it just needs a bulb. I don't know.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe because the lights were on a timer.
Yep.
That, it's not set now because the thing was off, and it probably
Well,
has
then-
to be reset.
Yeah, so that's what somebody would need to do, an electrician, I don't know,
But who would do that?
and that's what I don't know. Would we have to do that
Okay.
through DPW or?
Yeah, or do they let us go up there and check it out? I don't know.
I don't know.
If I may, I've never seen these specific timers, but I know other timers, it's much like setting a clock. So I can't imagine it would be very difficult. It might just be as simple as one of the members going in there and just taking a
Right,
look.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like literally like
Can-
setting a clock.
Yeah, so can we do that? Just somebody go up and look at it? We don't have to hire somebody special?
I don't imagine so. Again, I don't know these specific timers.
Yep.
But I would imagine
Okay.
it's easier than you might imagine.
Well, it sounds easy to me, but then that doesn't always mean anything.
It might be good to
Um,
first and then go from there.
Yeah, okay. So this year we have $4,000 that we have to spend. Yes. Now we've talked about the windows. The windows were approximately 900. Well, I don't remember.
Right. I've lost my video here. I can hear you, but
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
this,
So we can get a
uh,
price on the windows and go ahead with
Yep.
that because it's obviously less than $10,000.
right, so that's good news. So
Yeah.
I will stop at Coventry Glass and have them write
Right.
up,
Okay,
write it up officially so that I can
Okay.
give it to you to
Okay.
do what you have to
Okay.
do, you know what I mean? So,
now in looking at this, because we have $4,000, excuse me. I'm thinking, and now I'm going to the project list. Excuse me. The town map in the council, not council chambers, town manager's conference room. John, I sent John some pictures. I think he sent it to all of you. Can you bring them up on this screen, John?
Yes, I did send those out this afternoon. Let me
Okay.
try to pull them up right now, though. That way we can all review them together.
Yeah, Anna Sumpico took these pictures a week or two ago.
Yep.
And on the bottom, there's a piece of wood. Is that a broken off or detached?
Yeah, that's
piece?
broken off. That used to be attached.
Okay, so that
Kind of
is,
like a chalkboard.
okay,
um,
okay. So that is a sign, a part of the sign.
Yes.
Okay. As you can see, it needs work.
Hey,
The problem is,
I
who
have
do
a
we get?
question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that canvas on wood, Ann?
It had to be. When you get a good look at it, somehow they glued it on with something, because it's at first you think it's painted, but it's not. It's something that they glued on, and now it has all those little fractures in it. And
Yeah.
I've been looking just for the heck of it, and the only thing I've seen so far is they're talking about regular maps, old maps, paper maps. They don't say anything about this, so I was going to do some research and send out the pictures. I just wanted to make sure to get permission to send out the pictures so somebody can give me their opinion.
No, that's
So
great.
maybe like a painting restorer, right? People who work
like
at
a gallery
museums to,
type.
at
Yeah,
like museums or something might be able to give
Yeah.
us a quote on what
I
it would
think
take.
you're right.
Right,
Yep.
I agree. I mean, usually that's how they would do those back, they would paint it onto a piece of canvas and then
Okay.
apply it to a backing, of wood or similar material. But Aaron's right. Most, again, it's probably gonna be someone who does painting restoring that would do this.
Right. Yeah, so I'm gonna look into it a little more because I think it is kind of unique. And I'm not sure what this would run. This could run into quite a bit of money, but I want to do a little more research.
Okay.
Okay,
If it's, well, I'm thinking about by June 30th, how much we can get done. Too bad we didn't know this information sooner. If we could get that signed done. If possible.
Yeah, I think Norma, that what I'm going to do is I'll be able to find out right away because once somebody takes a good look at it, it could be someplace out of state too. See, that's the problem. There might not be a specialist in state itself. So
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm going to check into it and I'm hoping to get an answer and a little guidance within the next like 10 days.
So if, say, it's more than what we have, obviously,
Yeah.
we could submit it up for a budget for next
Yeah.
year's budget.
Okay,
So
sounds
we
good.
need to
Yep.
do that relatively soon too, because they're doing budget hearings right now.
Okay, understood.
Okay. So we either do it this year or we do it next year,
Okay,
which is fine. I mean, if they allow it.
right.
The other thing I thought maybe for this year is the World War II Memorial, have an electrician go in and see what's wrong with it. If we can pay somebody to find out, it might just need a new light bulb.
I have a question on that, Norma. The building itself, is that still owned by the town? Because that memorial is like right in front. So it's,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
curious
town
how that's going to
property.
run. Okay,
It runs to the building. The flagpole behind it is lit at night.
okay,
The sign is not, the monument is not. And it's supposed to be, when it's lit, it looks green. I've seen pictures of it lit.
I'm curious if they'll ever try to sell that building.
They've talked about selling, and then the question is, what happens to the memorials? And
Hmm,
one thing is they're gonna sell the building, but keep that property, or they would move them. It's really no decision right now.
okay,
Right now, though, it's attached to that building.
okay.
I
Yep.
mean, there's been no decision. There's just a lot of rumors as to what they're gonna do, but nothing concrete at this stage of the game. Yeah.
Okay,
But I still would like to see that memorial lit, whether it's there or somewhere else, because that was its intent.
you're correct. Yep.
So John, do we get a price from an electrician? What do we do with that? And then we would have to submit it for approval.
this is for the spotlight for that, or is,
It's the top of the memorial itself is supposed to be
Okay.
lit from within the
Okay.
memorial,
I'll have, I mean, obviously I'm so close, I can walk up just so I can familiarize myself with what it is.
Yeah, the top looks like a torch, but obviously it isn't. It's supposed to
Okay.
represent an eternal light. But it was never a fire, like the
So-
JFK memorials.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
think that I guess I would think that the town of Coventry has electricians on payroll to
They do.
maintain our buildings, and maybe we could just get one of those guys to go look at it and see if there is even an issue before we go and get an electrician to quote fixing it.
I know they use, I can't think of his name.
do we ask Public Works? That's a good suggestion, Aaron.
Public Works, yeah.
Right, I was going to, when you asked me, Norma, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
my fear would be, reaching out to somebody and starting to spend money from your budget if,
Yeah.
it might not even need that. It could be as simple as a switch or a bulb or something like that.
Yeah, no, I know they work with Earhart. That's who I was thinking of, Earhart Electrician. All right, let me talk to DPW about that. Maybe they can guide us, or maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's just a light bulb. I don't know. Are you still there?
We're here.
Okay, nobody was saying anything.
No.
I thought maybe everybody was
Sounds
gone.
good.
Okay, all right. But we've got a very small window of time to try to
Yeah,
do some of these things,
understood.
But I'd like to get the Reed School taken care of for one thing. And then we don't have to talk about that anymore. I'm thinking for next year's budget, the pink granite. Paul, so you would have to do
I'm-
your
I'm
design
sorry.
for next
Say-
year's budget, the pink granite.
What do you need?
I need the design.
Well, I
And an
thought you
idea.
were saying for the estimate or something.
Well, an idea of cost, so we
Yep.
can go and say next year we
Okay.
want blah,
Yep.
blah in next year's budget.
Okay,
Doesn't mean we'll get it, but we can,
right. I will do that.
okay, so pink granite is for next year. And the town map, depending on whether it can get done this year or it has to wait till next year. Okay?
Yep.
Does
Yep.
anybody else want to say anything about potential money request?
Yes.
Okay,
I asked one of the members of our group that works on headstone repair, money, how much money it cost him in materials to buy epoxy and the highline mortar for repairing headstones, because pretty much we've been paying for materials out of our own pocket. And I'd just like to know if that's a possibility of ever getting any kind of money for that.
how much would you think?
Yeah, like he gave me the numbers. I have it on a spreadsheet, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
I would think that we would want headstone repair to have a line item every year. And we would, after we get the first, the worst one set, plus every year we would have a line item repair. Did we lose everybody? Oh, just
I'm
something weird
back.
just happened with the screen.
I lost you a little bit.
That was
I
weird.
got that
So, you know,
wanted
like-
a line item. Yeah. Oh, you're gone.
Yeah. So if we would, like a standard line, because we're going to submit a budget every year, we should have a standard line in our budget every year that's for headstone repair materials.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Because they're always going to break. We're always going to need
Oh,
to
yeah.
fix them.
All right, Maureen, you'd have to come up with numbers
One
for
thing-
that too.
Okay. Yeah, he wrote it down actually on a spreadsheet for me. Should I submit that to John or to you, or do we wait till the next meeting, or how should I do that?
Well, we're gonna have to come up with a budget before too long. The referendums May something. I've got the vote is May something. It's not June, it's May.
So if the referendum's in May, we probably need to have a final budget for our next meeting to discuss. So I would think send it directly to Norma so she can do the draft and we can have it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
to
May
talk
26th.
about.
Yeah, May 26th is the all-day vote on the budget.
Right, so we're gonna have to get something to town council before then.
Yes, yeah.
And we only
okay,
have one more meeting before that.
right. So we have to do that soon.
Okay.
Okay.
One thing that I was thinking for next year, there's a lot of grants that talk about doing surveys to add locations to the historic register. And given all the work that Larry's done for us, I think we really should go for one of those grants for next year. Half the work's been done already by Larry. So if I submit to you before the next meeting, the grants and their timelines, we can also talk that next meeting and
Okay,
take a vote to say if we're going to go forward with any of them.
okay. All right, that's good. Anything else?
We will
Are you gonna talk about the house plaques?
to pay 50%
I'm sorry?
of whatever it is, though, so that'll have to get into the budget.
Who? I'm sorry, Erin, you broke up. Can you
I
repeat
think that was
that?
Paul that was talking.
No, but I heard you saying something. Oh, no, was I wrong? Now, I heard Paul,
Oh.
about the house
Yeah,
plaque.
so all grants are 50%, so we would. Yeah, so all the grants. 50%. The
So you
town
have to
or
share.
the historic
Yeah.
committee, so that would have
Okay.
to end up on the budget as well.
Okay, all right, okay, good. All right. The house plaques, well, let's go to brown signs first, because Maureen has an update on the brown signs.
So I ended up the maps that Larry sent to us after the last meeting that I guess he had John forward to us. There were the 4 maps of the historic districts, plus there was a 5th map of the LiDAR map that he showed us tonight. So two of those maps were exactly as you can find them in the on the historic district nominating package. That the maps were the same. The other 2 maps were I forgot, Anthony Village and maybe Rice City, I think. They had done their own modifications onto that map. So I sent the 4 maps to DOT. Everything has been approved. The one thing that they asked me for that I have not done yet, he asked me for physical street addresses. So I assume he means like the outer limits of the main approaches into the district. So I need to get them that. And I guess that's the only thing that's waiting on that. Everything has been approved. So I don't know when he looks at when the DOT looks at the maps that I sent them, maybe they'll be able to figure it out themselves. Otherwise, I think I have to go to the town's online GIS map and look at the maps that Larry had, or maybe I can just look at Larry's maps now that I understand a little bit about it and see if I can figure out some physical street addresses so that they know roughly, so they'll know where the district begins and ends so that they can pick the best location for installing the signs. I was hoping that's not going to be on me deciding where the signs go. I assume there's a more scientific.
Well, I figured they would decide that.
I hope so.
I know.
So anyways,
I'll see.
so
Okay,
if anybody's interested, I don't know that there's there's much to see, but they sent me a I don't know, like a graphic of what the sign would actually look like, and it's pretty much a rectangular brown sign. I believe it says entering and the name of the district, and that's it. So there's not detail, but I think that's okay because the location of the signs don't really afford themselves to small print where you want to walk up to it and read what it says. I think that's more suited to a walkable location, maybe like South Main Street or something like that we could consider in the future. A sign that would have a little bit more detail or something about the history, but I think this is a good start because we don't have anything like this in town. Although I think that there's an example on Main Street, the sign for the Pain House. I think
Right.
that falls in the same category, the brown sign. So that's that. So hopefully that'll be moving along soon. They've been very good about staying in contact, communicating about the information needed, and I think I've been more of the holdup than the state, if you can imagine that.
no, but at least it's moving forward.
Yeah, it's moving forward. They've been very, very good. Like I said, I think if I'd gotten this information to them already, maybe it would be done. I don't know.
No, that's great. At least, like I
Good
say,
job.
something's being done. Yes, very good. Then we won't have to talk about them anymore. Until we come up with other places to put brown signs.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as Erin was saying that, I'm like, well, maybe in the future we'll be putting brown signs there too.
Right. Okay, house plaques. I still don't know how we're gonna work that, Paul. I haven't gotten an answer of how what would happen. The people would pay for the plaques, it would go to the town. I don't really know how that's gonna work yet.
Just-
I guess we probably be wise to ask other towns how they've done it and how they've approached it. Because I mean, I honestly don't know the answer to how the best way to do that is. But some of the other towns like East Greenwich, Narragansett, and stuff, obviously they do this stuff. So what I may do is, might be worth it for me to ask the gentleman in Narragansett who I invited to the meeting that time, who will put together the historic stuff there. What if he has any suggestions or something, I could call and talk to him. I mean, I'm just only because I know him. That's maybe he can point us in the right direction or something like that with it. I'm making a note. I'm making a note right now to call.
Okay. Because I know PV does plaques, but that's a historical, so.
Yep.
So.
I was just gonna ask, and
Yeah.
I think the way theirs works, I'm not sure, but do they vote or they nominate a property
one a
and
year.
then?
They do one a year usually, and they would announce it at the annual meeting. Of course, they haven't done that because of the last 2 years of COVID and all of that, but that's how they've generally done it.
So then there's no charge to the person
No,
that
no,
gets it,
no.
but
They
you're
had
only
to
talking
submit-
about one a year. You're only talking one a year.
Right.
Okay.
They would have to submit applications and they would choose one.
Yep.
And they would do one a year, but that's not what we're going to do. So if people are paying for a sign, what's the process? It goes to the town, obviously, but it needs to be in a specific account so that we can buy the signs.
Right.
It's not the same as a society. You just take the money and you do it. We have to do it, follow protocols with the town, and that question has not been answered yet as to how we would do it. So that would be great if you find out how somebody else does it.
Yeah, that's all I mean, at this point, just to try and get some input from,
Right.
how that was accomplished. It might be helpful for how we go forward with it. And I will find out what I can.
Yeah, okay, great, because
Even in East Greenwich, again, because I've had to do a few projects there that involved historic properties. The woman, Leah, that is kind of head of the historic application process and all that stuff at the town. I mean, I don't say that I know her like I know the gentleman in Narragansett, but I know her well enough to call and ask for some, what they do, just to get input. Okay.
All right, that's good. Because maybe the town doesn't know how it, they don't know how it works themselves. I don't know.
Right.
They've got a lot of other things going on, but we just need to know how it's going to work before we move forward with it. So,
Okay.
okay. The last thing I have here is the teen center. And I had talked to Paul about this. We talked about creative ways to make the teen center work, because the last I knew they couldn't sell it because it still technically belongs to the Anthony Athletic Association. I thought, well, there's no parking out front, but there's parking across the river. What if we put some kind of walkway across the river? It would be open seasonal in the summer when the bike path is open. Something to think about. We don't need to get into the nitty gritties of it now, but it's just a thought. It would be a seasonal house, seasonal building, so it wouldn't have to be overdone, renovated for winter use or whatever, but it would be accessible from the bike path where there is parking. And then inside we could have some Coventry history or whatever inside of it, like a mini museum. Anyway, it's just a different thought. We're not going to decide that tonight, but if anybody have any questions or input or whatever, it's just a thought right now.
Well, you get into, obviously, the town having to be on board with that one, but,
course.
because you got liability, that's gonna always be the big negative there is the town assuming a certain liability, having that going across, because it's not like it's in a wetlands, like some of these trails that they do where they have these nice long walkway bridges, if you want to call them that, across them. That's a river and it's flowing fast. The kids start deciding to swim off of it. I can see that you might have a hard sell there because of the liability. Other than that, it's a great idea. It would be lovely, but I don't know if you get it past that point.
Well, it's something to think about. It's not priority, that's for sure at this stage.
What do you think, Ann, as a law enforcement person?
Yeah, I first of all, I love that building. But I think you're right, because it would just be hard to control that. But maybe we can come up with something else other than that. Because I like that building too, Norma. I think, but again, I'm not even sure the condition of the building inside either.
Well, it's not great. Paul has looked at it. It needs work. It's the
Yeah.
parking issue. It's the parking issue. It's not a safe road for people to park.
No,
Just not.
It's not, unless you could make a deal with the old IGA parking lot with the other businesses but I know, I think liability wise, I don't think the town would go for, only because you can't keep control of it and things are going to happen. People are they're going to flock to that just for the fun of it too. Just for fun.
No, it's just a thought. I'm trying to think of something creative for that building.
Think about it.
Maybe we could put a helicopter landing on top of it and fly people out there.
Absolutely. Well, think of it, something to think about. Oh, I'm sure Paul's going to come up with something.
Yeah, my brain is always working, sometimes too much, but anyway. I just wanted to bring it up, get some input. Like I said, it's not priority. There are other things that need to be done first. So anyway, anything else there in old business anybody wants to talk about?
I have something I just want to bring up, and it relates to the Byron Reed property where the building came down.
Right.
And because I've been observing what's happening to Mapledale, which is good because it's all been resided and everything. In taking the ride down Mapledale Street last week, it was kind of disturbing to see how the people who live right abutting that property, right on the other side of Mapledale from the property, are using it as their car repair shop. And they've driven over it, dug it up. They've got a small tire and a big tire lying there. And every now and then, if you go by in the afternoon or on the weekend, you'll see them there working on their vehicles. And I don't know, I'm only bringing it up because someone should bring it to either DPW or the police department and ask them to, go by there. And if they see them there, to kick them out. Yeah.
At one time, I thought it'd make a good parking lot for the teen center, but then people say, "Oh, people won't want to walk there." Said, what's the matter? Why
it's true, but they've driven through it when it's all wet, and so they've dug it all up and whatever, and it's just not the way it should be.
Well, that's from behind the house next door.
The house that's right on right on Washington Street there. That's abutting it on Mapledale, right on the corner.
On Mapledale.
They had I'll just tell you, they had their power cords across Mapledale Street from their house to run their tools that they were using to work on the cars.
I hadn't noticed that. Okay. All right. Well, maybe we should ask about that then. Yeah.
Since it's an historic property, basically, they someone should tell them that they can't do that.
No, it's not their property.
That is.
Yeah, it's not their property. Yeah. Okay. Let me write that down. Okay. Anything else?
All set.
No. Okay. The last thing I have is new business and future maintenance. And I was thinking that, we've talked about getting an RFP for the trestle over 117. We talk about Arkwright Bridge. And I'm looking at the trestle over here by Laurel Avenue that's rusty. Should we think about requesting some sort of maintenance budget thing? I mean, say we get the trestle painted. Should we ask for something within the budget so that money goes in every year so that in 20 years, if it needs to be painted again, the money's there?
So you're talking about starting a fund and we would fund
Yeah.
it for the next 20 years, so it had enough in it after
Yeah.
20?
Yeah, because like I say, there's the trestle over here by Laurel Avenue. That's part of the bike path. And of course, that's well, it's questionable as to who's responsible for it, for the maintenance. So there's bridges such as that they're not transportation bridges per se, are accounted for maintenance. Like I say, even the one on over 117 DOT, it says it's up to the town, and the town says it's up to DOT. And there's always been that question as to who's responsible for it to paint it.
I think that's a big responsibility for our commission to take on. That should be in capital improvements for a town. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense where that trestle alone is going to cost hundreds of thousands, or I'm not even sure, but you've got the state saying, no, it's not us. You've got the town. The town
Right.
solicitor should, somebody's going to weigh in on that, because it's not really, we're a small organization. We're not going to be able to get that done.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
don't.
like this trestle near Laurel, that's the same situation. Is it DOT or is it town?
Well, again, that's for them to decide, but it's a responsibility of a town and the state to get on board, only because there's liability issues there too. You're trying to, and it's kind of, I feel like it's out of our league to. I mean, I think the town should consider talking with the state and getting the town solicitor to say, where are we going with this? It's just,
How it was explained to me is that when the bike path was put in, it was done by a DOT with federal and state funds and that kind of thing. But those kinds of projects, once they're done, the maintenance of it falls on the municipality.
and again,
But you
though, I
get
think that's got to be clarified.
Yeah, you get different answers from each. Nobody wants to pay for it.
Right, and we're a small organization that gets $1,000 or $4,700, and we're doing all these other things. But to me, it's really a town and a state issue. They've got to get together on this. I really, that's not even in our control. It's
No, the reason I'm here, not that I want to start it, but I want to figure out how it would work. So you say it should be under capital improvement?
Well, no, that's just my opinion, but the town has some responsibility and the state, and for some reason they're pushing back at each other, and they've really got to get a plan. They got to get something in place, because it's not going to go by anything we tell them to do or say or do. It's responsibility.
It's how do we be sure if we get well, who's that? A new member? Say we get a grant. Say, just for an instance, this is just thoughts, discussion. Say we get a grant for the trestle over 117, and it's done. Okay, so we get it done. How do we? Well, maybe we can't guarantee that it's looked after down the road. I know the town doesn't have money now, but I'm just, how can we suggest?
The idea of setting up a fund, generally speaking, I think so we could set up a fund for like maintenance of the Reed Schoolhouse. My concern is that someone's going to take it for something more important. And so we have been good at saving money year by year to repaint the Reed School or whatever. And then someone takes it for an emergency. It's almost worth it for us to not do that ahead of time and to just do a yearly budget and say, we're ready to repaint the school this year.
Yep. Yeah, I know that does happen. When people are in a panic, they take money from here to there. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I've thought about, we're talking about maintenance of bridges. And if we get grants and such, because they're historic, there's really no way we can guarantee that, well, 20 years down the road, you have to do that again.
Right, and you can't guarantee a grant all the time. I mean,
No, that's
it'd be
true.
great, right? But, and again, I just think that's a real responsibility. That's really not.
Yep.
I mean,
Okay.
it all depends on a grant. So if Aaron said, hey, we got $100,000, that might not even be enough for any of the bridge work.
Yeah.
Would the town match it? We're really uncertain of that. We don't know what they're gonna do.
Okay, it was just a thought I had. A lot of thoughts aren't practical. But anyway, okay. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Yeah, I want to put out an invite. We are participating in an annual state event, a cemetery awareness event, which is more from a single date in annual date up until a couple of years ago, and last year it morphed into an 8-week-long event. So we've been planning cemetery related events, cleanups, demonstrations, flagging events. So I meant to have the invitation or the schedule handy on my computer to pull up right now, but I don't have that. So I would like to, we have a number of events scheduled for the month of April. We're still talking about events for the month of May. So April and May, cemetery preservation and awareness, something like that. The title gets changed around all the time, but if you're interested in historical cemeteries, you can check that out. It might be something that appeals to you.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. So can we open it to public comment? Is there anybody there, John?
If there's anybody in the audience at this time, you can use the raise your hand feature and we'll bring you in. Nope, Norma, it doesn't look like there's anybody at this time.
Okay. Is there anything else any of you want to bring forward before we sign off?
Norma, I do. It's John again. I just want to be clear about just kind of what we talked about. So as not any delays or anything. So for any projects that you guys have, what we heard from Jen Ludwig was that we need some sort of, where does she have it here? Some sort of quote for next meeting. That way all of the members can vote on it. I just wanted to be clear that if somebody
So the
sends
windows or the sign or what we were going to try to get done for this year,
right,
we would need that for the next meeting, yeah.
So whatever projects that you intend to have sooner rather than later, if you guys send either Norma or myself that quote, and then we can circulate it to all the members, you guys can vote on it the next meeting. And then it's just as simple as writing up the writing that up for the finance department, getting it signed and getting it done. So
okay, great. All right.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, or maybe a comment on that. Maureen, do you have a list of headstones you want fixed? Do you know, like, I have 3 in this cemetery and I have 3 in this cemetery? Because we could have your contact put together a quote for those ones and vote on it next month.
We could
Because
try,
it looks like the only
could
thing
try
we're
to
gonna
do
get
that
to
in-
do is the glass, and it's about $900.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I was waiting for you. You said we could try to do that. I was waiting if there was more.
So yeah, there's just we just like the projects aren't planned out that long. But let me look at the information that Colin gave to me to see if he had an estimate. It's just it's just kind of an overwhelming, off the top of my head, answer to give, because there's just so many, broken headstones times 200 cemeteries, but, you know, if that's what we need to do to, yeah, let me look at the numbers that he gave me and see if we can, come up with, an estimate, because, any help that we get is better than no help at all. So even if we underestimate, or overestimate, I don't know. Anyways, to look at that. Yeah, let me talk to some of my colleagues, other volunteers, and see
I'm just concerned about ending our budget.
about what.
I'm just concerned about us spending our budget by June. And the only thing we have that looks like we're gonna be able to go for is the glass at the Reed School. Maybe we just do the full rest of the budget towards headstone restoration.
Okay, let me see if I can get you some, I don't want to say some rock solid numbers. How's that?
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll
Oh,
make a
go ahead, Barney.
Second?
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Bye.
I,
Opposed? So meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Hey.
Good night,